Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you very much for your kind support regarding the Atlantis videos that I've been doing. There are a lot of other videos on my channel, and if you're interested in Taiwan, you should check them out. Or if you're interested in learning better English, you can see that playlist. I've got a few playlists, one on marketing. But as far as Atlantis goes, these are the most popular videos that I'm creating right now. This picture, which I just found through Google image searches, is a three-dimensional version of the computer image that we're all familiar with. And I wanted to talk about that today. Before I do, welcome back to my channel, and thank you again for enjoying my videos. Please subscribe and click the bell. I'm a very skeptical person. I'm not the type of person to just jump on something. You might think, well, what are you doing with Atlantis in the middle of northern Sahara? Well, I have a good feeling about this, and I don't base everything on feelings though. So when I see information, I like to take it skeptically and evaluate it and not just say that's it. I've had my fair share of people throwing lots of ideas at me throughout my life. A lot of people are getting quite bug-eyed about this. I just enjoy looking at new information. First, there's a few things I should clear up. You know, my opinion is there's a lot of ancient architecture out there, not just in Africa, not just in Turkey, but under the water here. We have some things that we've seen. Over here by Cuba, we've had some things that we've seen. So for me, the term Atlantis refers to an ancient civilization, and the concentric circles that are located in the Richat structure seem like they match what Plato was talking about. However, I do think that you can see some other structures in the Atlantic Ocean near Cuba. Those are also some signs of an ancient civilization. So Atlantis was in the Richat structure only. I'm trying to find out information about ancient civilizations in general. The Herodotus map families, there's several of them here. You can see them all. But one thing I wanted to say about this one is a lot of people use this as an excuse to say, oh, it was just referring to the mountains. But if you look at this one, you can see very clearly that Mount Atlas, or the Atlas Mountains, were separated from what is labeled as Atlantis. Now over here you see Atlantis on the north side, but if you look at some other maps here, for example this one shows Atlantin next to Atlantis. And by the way, this is German for Atlas Mountains. It's just another version. And when you look at these, Garamantin refers to a tribe, so that font is the same as this font, so they're about the same. Not as big as the Libyan or Ethiopian. Ethiopian's all capitals, and Libyan, this is a different language. We can find it here. Libya or Ethiopia was larger than the Atlantis. It shows Atlantis south of the Atlas Mountains. This map, I think, was based on the Herodotus map. It was from the 1500s. And you can see here Atlas Mountains, but Nile from Atlantis flowing. So here we have some type of lake where the Nile is from Atlantis flowing. That's Latin, yes? So we've got another version of that. Funny how Africa and Spain are still connected here. I also need to thank a viewer named Harry Peach for pointing out the obvious, that I've been referring to this ancient town of Hodan, and I didn't realize that the modern town of Oadan is just probably the same name, just misinterpreted or over time changed. And it makes perfect sense. I have to give him credit for that, because I've been wondering what happened to Hodan, what happened to Hodan. But it seems to me that it's been in the same place this whole time, which actually helps me understand these maps a little bit better. So now I have to go through them again. Starting from as recently as 1710, you can see Hodan here. There's a river going right up into it. This map, you can see Hodan right there, and you can see the river passing the marker, going right up past it. These maps also going back into the 1500s show Hodan right there and a river going right up to it. Again there, this one, Hodan's way down there. Take a look at that very quickly. Here you see Hodan, but the river doesn't reach it. That's interesting. 1554, you see the river going right past Hodani. This is the picture that I'm talking about, and it's a really nice picture because it shows the altitudes in this area and down here as well. What you see is that the Richat structure is in this recess that's butt up against this mountain ridge. And I think it's an amazing piece of geology. Here's another image, and you can see how deeply recessed the Richat structure is into this disc circle. And you can see that this sand that moved in here has created quite high mountains, and you would have to hike down into it. The city of Quarry is located here, and people have to drive from here into the structure. There's a couple of different roads that go this way and that, and the two triangles that mark the entrance are about right here. We'll take a look at that on the real map. If you get into the structures, you can see that literally right here is where the new temple is located and the old temple. And then those structures right above it, one is right here and it just goes up this mountain. So there's a ridge up here, the top of this ridge, and the structure's on the other side. Also, we can talk about the center and those buildings in the center that everybody's visited because everybody wants to know what's going on in the center. But the castle, it comes out this way and it's right there, the new castle. Second castle is over here. So that one is an interesting one for me because it's showing up. Garth came up with an interesting comment. Some of the more square structures with bits that jet off from the opposite corners, obviously he's talking about the castles, are very similar in design to the French Foreign Legion's forts. I gotta check that out because this was called French West Africa. The castle could be modern day structures. How old are they? Yeah, wait, he's got a picture right here. I haven't seen this yet. Some desert forts, but none of them are round. Okay, so he's using a picture of Fort Le Mans, and that has a interesting corner on one side and a corner on the other, but nothing here. So that's an interesting point, and he has stuff along the wall. So those castles most likely are some type of desert fort, it looks to me. I mean, honestly, he makes a great point. And I'm not the type of person, if I'm not afraid to scrap anything. I think those look like they're kind of some kind of a fort. It makes sense. And somebody was talking about a camel watering hole. It doesn't make sense because you're not going to give camels 400 feet wide structures to water at. I would say more likely are some of these circles. Let me show you this. Structures found in England and throughout Europe. And you can see these circles. Are those watering holes? No. Are those animals? Those look like animals walking around. So maybe a long time ago those were little watering holes for animals. And maybe that's what we're seeing all over because we certainly see a lot of circles in the Richat structure when we're going up close. Okay, that point's finished. This is a structure I was looking at, just the shape of that, and you can kind of see something's going on here. So I thought maybe that was another castle hiding under the sand. So yeah, if you're going to find some treasure, it's probably going to be under the sand, but look at the way this has been washed away. If you look at this, you can see that there's barely any altitude here, and it goes quite low. If there was a circle of water, then what you would see is some type of residual wall or something. So if it wasn't washed away by floods, then I guess it's got to be in there somewhere, but I've never seen any residual signs of that. You can see that this one area goes across the mountain range, and that was probably a major passage through here. And you do see quite a bit of signs of structures over here, which looked at in my last video, some new stuff. And on the outside part over here that you can't see are some things that I've shown before. I'll just go back to the slides I showed you. Starting up here, right there where the red dot is, you've got this very unique thing. It's actually got some similar circles in the corner, and another one that's kind of more related to these things that were found in other countries. That's, I think, Iran. This right here, it looks kind of like a temple, and there it is where the red dot is there. Those are interesting. You can also see that above the Richat structure, you've got this large area, a plain area that holds quite a bit of water marks and a ridge here. It's going across about 30 miles, so it's not a small little area. And over there, you've got that second, maybe you can call it dome geography or whatever that was. Most of the sand there is from sandstone. There is question about the blue. That's a little bit of dolostone that's creating that. Some people think it may come from the mountains. The dome geography probably brought that blue up through its volcanic activity. Whenever I think I'm done with these Atlantis videos, something always comes up and it ends up being the topic of a new one. So I'm not done yet as far as I know, but I can give it a break from here. I think one of the biggest things that we need to take from this is that cataclysmic destruction happens to societies and civilizations, and we need to prepare mentally for this, even if it can't really help us, because when something goes down like a big old comet slamming into the earth, we don't have a lot of time to do anything. But what we should take into consideration is that our lives are not just working, paying bills, but also thinking about the big picture. I hope that doesn't depress you too much, but we should be realistic about our place on this planet. Next time you see a sticker that says save the planet, maybe we should be thinking about saving ourselves instead.